Welcome to today's Town of Rome Community Development Authority meeting, Thursday, June 1st, 2023, 3 o'clock p.m. I'd like to call to order, and with roll call from my left, please.
Jamadi here.
Stevenson here.
Williams here.
Cole here.
Schermerhorn here.
Thank you. Can we have the certified posting of today's meeting, please?
I certify that on Tuesday, May 30th, 2023, the agenda for the Town of Rome Community Development Authority meeting for Thursday, June 1st, 2023, was posted at emailed to the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune, 3:40 p.m., posted at the Rome Town Hall, 3:45 p.m., posted at Quick Trip LLC, 3:50 p.m., posted at Nakusa Port Edward State Bank, 3:56 p.m., and that's signed by Wendy Newsom, Deputy Clerk Treasurer, Town of Rome.
Thank you. Today's agenda, could I get that approved, please?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you. Citizen comments.
No comment cards received.
Thank you. All right, reports. Adams County Economic Development. Jamie?
I just wanted to mention, I know that it was alluded to at our last meeting because Up North Brewery was a recipient, but Create, through the Adams County Economic Development, now has a business plan grant available. It is accepted on a quarterly basis. Applications are due no later than the last day of each fiscal quarter. $2,500 is available each quarter to anyone that has a business plan that they would like to share. Businesses can receive more than one of the grants, but it is capped at $5,000. They are evaluated against the plans that are received each quarter. And the Adams County Economic Development will continue to do this as long as they're able, and all of the information is on their website.
Awesome, thank you. The Parks and Rec Committee. Jamie?
So bandshell is still going up a little bit more every day. Roof is on, starting to get it enclosed. You might have also seen that the Rhapsody music notes got added. They are so cute.
They are.
There needs to be a base that's poured underneath it. It's like a flexible concrete. That's why they're cordoned off, because we have it dug down for that to get put in, and it'll be a couple weeks before that arrives. And then Tuesday afternoon will be our first subcommittee for the disc golf course, planning for that. And on town board tonight is the approval to update our comprehensive outdoor rec plan with the same entity that we used in 2018, Community Consulting.
Awesome.
Can I just ask a question? You know, I've walked by that bandshell and I looked at the plans when it was initially, but that fireplace, is that the front of it or is that the back of it? Is there going to be outdoor seating around? I guess I don't understand.
Yep, the stage faces to the south, and that pavilion faces to the north, and then that's an open air fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little covering off of the back of the building that will be where there's a serving window too, in case someone would rent the kitchen or we do concessions at a concert, and so it'll be under that back covered. So you could be out in the grass or you could be underneath the roof, depending on.
Okay.
But it'll be it's a small pavilion off the back with that fireplace.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Connect Communities. Anyone have anything new this time?
No, hopefully everyone's got onto the Wisconsin Network. I'm getting the updates from Wisconsin Network, so.
All right, Planning Commission. Jeff?
We had, I can, if you want.
Yeah.
Well, we had approval of 2 mobile sighting towers. We actually denied the change to, they asked for a change to the type of zoning we have in the one area, but we approved the siting of the 2 towers. So that should help with service in our area. One's out on the east side of town and one is on the west side of town.
Excellent.
So that's good. And so, and of course, short-term rentals are picking up again, which we're gonna hopefully get a handle on that, so we're not completely overwhelmed with those again. So hopefully with the checklist that was created earlier this year, that might simplify it for us. But again, if the numbers increase again as anticipated, we might have to reevaluate, what we do with those. And comprehensive plan, we're just waiting on that to be completed by North Central Regional Planning, and that come back to us for its final review and to CDA, and then that'll go to town board for its final approval.
Awesome, thank you. The Alcohol Beverage Licensing Review Committee, Sharon?
A meeting is scheduled for this coming week. I got a message from Wendy, actually yesterday morning, but I guess there is application for beer and wine license. I don't know anything else about it. I'm supposed to be in jury duty for a week, starting Monday morning at 10:30, Adams County jury duty. So I texted Wendy back and said, I don't know what to do. I'm not going to be able to be on that meeting unless they call it off, which they haven't as yet, but, and I don't know if I'm going to be chosen, so that's all I know. I just got an email for that, so.
Okay. More next month then, maybe?
I'm on that committee too. I didn't see, maybe I got the email too and I didn't look yet, so I don't know if that matters.
Oh.
It probably got sent to your town account.
Probably, and I didn't look at that
Tuesday or
today.
Wednesday of next week
Oh,
for the meeting for
okay.
that.
Just, if I might, I did notice that some of her mail is going to your other emails, so you might want to double check
It's
with
coming to
Wendy.
2 different emails, so I'll just talk to Wendy about it. But I was gone until yesterday, and so I'm not totally up to date. I'll look at that.
All right, thank you. The Utilities Committee, Jamie?
Nothing new to report.
All right. Grant Subcommittee, Jeff?
We haven't met.
All right. The Rome Town Center, Jamie?
Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry, may we just back up a minute? The grant subcommittee, I don't know where we might, but I did come across, when I was looking at the mobile siting, because Verizon is the one that's siting those 2 towers, the company that's working with them, and there's gonna be 2 spots for 2 sub companies on those 2 towers, so there'll be 3 mobile companies on those towers. So I was looking at T-Mobile and actually came across, they have a hometown grants program. So I had looked at this for our for our beautification project. So maybe I'll wait till beautification and I'll bring it up there. We'll come back to it, so.
All right.
But that grants made me think about it, but it might just work for our beautification project, because when we get to beautification, they turned out to be quite a bit more expensive than we anticipated, so, but thank you.
I don't have additional updates for Rome Town Center that weren't shared at the last meeting.
Okay. Sand Valley, Jackie?
Nothing new that hasn't been reported previously. There's homes going up in the Sedge complex. A tennis center is being built, but I can't say there's anything that hasn't been previously reported.
Okay.
Just a lot of golfers and
Busy time of year.
busy time of year.
Yeah.
I would note that because of the storm, there wasn't really, it was Lori and I, and Jackie was there, but couldn't get out of the car, so we will. We did not.
She backed up a couple
get
times,
into the
but
tour?
she couldn't
Yeah.
make it to the door, yeah.
So we'll reschedule the tour and the ribbon cutting, hopefully again for next month, to do the rented office space.
Looks nice so far, what they're trying to do with the building, so it's good to see activity in there.
I'm hoping maybe I can make it to the next one. I knew I wasn't gonna be able to make this one. All right. The CDA beautification project. Lori?
So, or Jackie can actually kick it off, and Jamie had some info, so.
We had the deadline for the submissions pass, and I think you all received an email with images and the information that Jamie had, and we have those here if you'd like to look at them in a hard copy. So we have,
This is also it's a full agenda item, so.
oh yeah, so
Yep.
maybe that's better that we get into it later then. So we'll get into that later at the full agenda item, because we need to talk about selection process and how we're gonna pay for this.
Okay.
So,
But anything that wouldn't be related to the submissions, I think.
Yes. okay.
you wanna
So-
talk about T-Mobile, cause that wouldn't be related to the submissions, or it would be, so
I
we
could-
should?
I could bring that up now if that would be
Sure,
okay, but yeah, there is, okay, so I found out about this T-Mobile hometown grant, which then it also leads into the Main Street project, or Main Street America, which started with Broadway in Green Bay, which grew nationwide. But it actually goes up to, over the years, it crossed 37 states. So far, they've given away $5.5 million.
Wow.
So, it supports all different kinds. Their next submission, though, is due June 30th. And I just found out about this like last week. But I mean, how fast can you write, Jeff? No.
We could totally
Any of
get that
us,
done.
but I mean, it would be wonderful, but they've done everything from like, community centers to adding a kitchenette to ADA compliant ramps, in a community center, outdoor spaces, STEM programs, all different types of things, so, it was just a really neat thing to find. Renovated a streetscape, one of them was, restoring a historic mural on a building. So, but up to $50,000 a project they do. So, they work with Main Street America, Smart Growth America are just two of the organizations, so, yeah, and the information's all right here.
When did you say they were due?
June 30th. So we have a whole month. We could try and use this maybe towards that mural project if we, you know.
They don't require any matching, I mean, does it fund
It-
100%?
It doesn't say anything about that. I just did a couple of pages of what I found online, and I dug as far as I could. Each quarter, T-Mobile awards hometown grants for up to 25 towns with populations of less than 50,000, and anyone with a vision for how to make their community even stronger than it is today can apply. So if we wanted to use it for that specific project on the side of that building, I don't know how everybody feels about that. But with the numbers we're looking at, if it's something we wanna talk about, but we can put it towards our grant committee and talk about it more there, or specifically this project, or if we wanna put that on Jeff if he's got time, or the committee's got time. But I can pass it down, and
Yeah,
I printed out just a few pages of it, and I saved it, at home, and we could talk about it.
That's excellent. Thank you very much.
yeah, and the 30 days is plenty of time to get this done, so, and we probably should schedule a grant committee meeting,
Right, so, right.
because we haven't met in a while, and, we could probably, I could probably have a draft ready to go by the time we get together in May.
Cause the other thing I was gonna ask about too is the community progress initiative. I don't know, if there was anything set aside for that 40, but it's been sitting there for so long that if we didn't use that grant there, if there's something else within the community that we could specify 50,000 for, that's a true need. I mean, cause, oh, that's right. If there's a true need, we could definitely use this because of the size of, that project and what it is, which is really exciting that we get going on it. But if we could maybe use the Progress Initiative grant too for something, or maybe hold that aside for something else, but.
We could
So-
for sure apply, but it'll be a smaller portion, cause it's only 4% of the 40 that gets
Oh,
involved.
that's right,
So
it's
it
only
would be
4%.
a couple thousand.
Right, and this is something more substantial, so definitely we could use that, so.
Well, and shoot, they put in 88 kayak launches in Rice Lake. I mean,
Yes,
we've
I
been
saw
talking about
that.
that for a while.
Yeah.
Right, and so then I'm wondering, well, gosh, if we're talking parks, we're doing one little project at a time, I'm thinking
Combine.
disc golf. I'm thinking disc golf.
Yeah.
So, for the Parks and Rec, so think
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah.
Maybe disc golf for that, cause that
Or
would
for the
take care of the whole
mats.
disc golf project if we're thinking quality disc golf. So maybe we need to think that through, so grants committee, let's get together real soon, so. Couple different avenues to think of, so, alright, thank you.
Good.
Thank you. All right, the next section then is our approval of the May 4th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Could I just add,
Sure.
for the Wisconsin trap shooters, I know we talked about at the last meeting, just incorporating some update. I don't know if you had gotten an update.
I tried. I called Connie, and she told me to go online, and the information was online, but it wasn't online. So then I called her again, and she told me she didn't even have it, and she's a member. And I'm like, I found something, but it is WTA Homegrounds. Is that the name of?
It's the campground.
Okay, then I have it. Do you want it?
Yep, are these their annual events for the year?
Yeah. Oh, golly. So I just copied that off, but I wasn't sure of the name. It was just. Okay. Is that all you needed? You needed something else too?
No, I mean, I think it was
Okay.
just staying in contact with them and
Okay.
seeing if they had updates that they wanted to make sure that were shared.
Okay.
We can put these dates, include those in the minutes too.
Awesome. All right, thank you. All right, now can, the approval of the May 4th, 2023 meeting minutes, please.
I make a motion to approve the May 4th meeting minutes.
I second it.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried, thank you. All right, number 9 is discussion and possible action on the next step regarding the University Alliance reports in relation to the CDA's 2023 goals matrix.
This was a continuation from the last meeting, after we had the summaries of the items that related to housing and workforce, just what we thought might be potential next steps, that the committee would like to take. Whether that's additional studies or conversations, RFPs, maybe it's none of the above or all of the above. Open conversation.
I think we could look into housing financing, maybe for other businesses, what's available. Then try, so that we at least have some information available to people that would like to come to our area. And we already have the checklist for our housings, right, but what about for people that are not in the town center to get housing? Do they follow a different, they don't have to follow the same plans, right, that the town center has?
So it's gonna kinda depend on what you're talking for housing, right, because there isn't, what's in town center is multifamily housing, and there isn't a lot of other places within the town that would have multifamily zoning.
Okay.
That town center is really where the, plan commission and the board have determined would be your densest housing area.
Yeah, so for zoning purposes, there really isn't much else out there.
There is not.
Okay,
There is some, but that's where we've determined would be our
okay. All right.
I think probably, with the information that we have from some of that, with the summaries we had, we know that we definitely need some sort of workforce housing for the people that are coming into this area that stay here year round. There's a need. If we put out a request for a proposal, does everybody feel though that there was enough information in all those different studies? I mean, granted, those studies were a number of years old already. But there was information in those studies to show that we definitely need housing, but yet this study was based more so south of us.
The whole county versus just the town of Rome.
Right.
Yeah.
And our need for housing is more increased in the summertime than it is in the winter. So would we wanna put out a request for housing based on a need that's increased in the summertime? Or, I don't know, Jackie, you look like you're thinking, so what are your thoughts?
No, I'm just wondering if some of that need is going to now start to be met because we have some new subdivisions that were recently approved that are gonna be built, and it looks like they're gonna be building homes that might be more affordable. So some of it is just naturally happening as people see possibility for investment here. So I guess I'm puzzled as far as what exactly we're talking about, that the town is going to build something, or the town is going to look to attract someone, to come here and build something, like,
So
give
we
them.
we just determined to put in a road in hopes of attracting somebody, so.
For attracting, not really for us to put it up, I
So
think.
you mean Timberline Parkway? Is
Right.
that the road that we're talking about?
Right.
Right.
Because the
and-
only other drawback there is industrial buildings and storage buildings and multifamily complexes. So what else is gonna draw them there?
The fact that there's, money to be made here and a demand that's not being met.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know enough about the process, how you would go about doing that. You're talking about reaching out to developers and seeing if they wanna bring something in, then you'd have to know exactly what it is you're talking about that you want.
Well, the previous strategic plan, which
So-
now we're working on strategic planning
Mhm.
again, but the previous strategic plan that was completed said, having shovel-ready, availability of certain features in the town so that people would be interested in coming here. So granted, we're doing strategic planning earlier than what the previous one was scheduled for. It did say having some of those things ready to draw developers here. So now that road will be in there and water will be in there, I mean, what does the CDAs, do to draw developers in, such as a housing developer? And is the need there, based on those studies? So now we'll have that road there and.
Advertise the property when that's for sale.
I think the new website is helpful for, as long as it's kept current with what's available. And so I think that's probably the biggest right there is, the marketing material that we have, I guess, is a big one too, to get that out there.
What type of housing specifically, if you could focus on housing, would you be looking to develop? Are you looking condos, apartments, hotels, independent living facilities? What, is it temporary housing you're looking to put up, or is it permanent? What would be like the focus, what would be the best type of housing, or what would we be looking for? I guess I don't, yeah, like you said, the new subdivision, so I'm thinking, well, that's not it. So then you're thinking condos, you're thinking more apartments, you thinking hotels, are you thinking senior development? I guess I don't, what would be your focus? Or what do you think what would be the most important focus?
The Rome Town Center map, where we label what the zoning is, there's a large section, about 19 acres, that we had designated for senior living. So it would not have to be per se assisted living, but would it be for 55
Independent.
plus
Independent.
independent living. And the other portion of that was multifamily, but it does not allow for conventional multi-story apartments. So it would have to be something that wasn't a conventional multi-story apartment building. But could be apartments, could be condos, could be townhouses, but wouldn't be single-family homes.
Well, I think the independent living facility, if you could get one in here, would free up people's homes up here, because a lot of people, their homes are getting, including me, I'm just speaking to myself too, but too much to keep up. And if they moved into a type of independent living facility and they wanted to stay up here, but they couldn't manage all the maintenance and upkeep of their home, if you have a facility like that for people to move into, then it would also free up homes in the area that they would sell.
See, and that was part of the design plan too, originally for the Rome Town Center, when that land was set aside for that, is the 55 plus living, the walkability, which, is talked about in some of these studies, is that the Rome Town Center offered that walkability to people who wanted to be able to get to places such as, granted, it's not a market, but Quick Trip offers things that they can get that are quick and easy to.
Bakery, deli,
Yeah,
absolutely.
there's a bakery now, there's a little shop, things like that, so that type of housing, and when you look at single, independent living, think of if you've been to Nakusa, the type of housing that's behind the post office and the Dollar General. Those are independent living, those are apartments, those types of living. So when you put out an RFP for a developer of that type of housing, and you say LMI, that's low to moderate income living, so somebody next door, you might be living here and paying $900, but the person next to you might be paying $400. You'd never know that. So a developer would come in and develop that type of living, different from what's currently in the Rome Town Center. That was all part of that design plan
I think
that
it's
was
a-
done a number of years ago. We haven't necessarily followed that plan.
I think it's a
So-
great idea, but I think you need a focus, prioritize the type of living facilities that you want to,
Because the other thing that we need to think about is part of the short-term rental process. As people are coming in and building homes or buying homes and turning them into short-term rental facilities because of the type of area that we are, we're also losing homes that families want to come in and buy and live here. So our housing market is diminishing. So even when you talk to realtors, they're saying the housing market is starting, granted, there's houses being built, but they're way at a higher end, or the lots that are available to build homes that are maybe in the middle range are becoming less and less. So what's happening to our housing market for families that come in are in the mid-range? So you've got a disparity there that's being created by the short-term rental market. And granted, that's part of who we are and what we are, but we have to think about those things and what's happening to our community because of the recreational type of community that we are. So what kind of housing are we looking for people, like you said, us, that are getting up there that don't want to take care of a home anymore? That frees up our home for a younger family, or
Absolutely.
Yep. That isn't at the high end.
Yeah.
So those are all things that we got to think about as our community changes, and what are we creating for the future. So those pieces of land that are set aside in the Rome Town Center, who do we want to draw? So that's the type of developer that's part of the strategic plan that we're doing, now that we're modifying. We could draw them with an RFP, so that's kind of where we're at. Those are things we need to think about.
The RFP process doesn't make sense to me here. Because, if you issue an RFP, if you want to build a new road, the town's paying for the road, and you hire, and the company that wins the RFP process, is the general contractor who builds the road.
That's right.
But so.
That's right.
So the town's not gonna the town isn't paying for an apartment to be built. So I don't understand how the RFP process would work here.
There would be a difference between a bid and an RFP, right? So an RFP, a request for proposals, you would be putting out to say, the City of Wisconsin Rapids has done this often, the Triangle site is where they've done it several times, but we have this available piece of land, we're willing to work with you on what you would need. Tell us what you'd put on this piece of land, and we'll coordinate with you what your needs are. And so the developer might say, I need water, sewer, electric, internet, and a $10,000 stipend. And we would say, we can't do sewer, we would sell you the land at a reduced cost, but we wouldn't be able to provide a stipend. Could we make the project happen?
See, now I see it a little differently than that, but I agree with you 100%. We would put out an RFP and say, you help us build the road, but we're past that point. So it could be something like, okay, RFP, you help us put in more green space, you help us with the trails. So an RFP, something like that, you help us develop this part of the area, you put in this, help us with the green space, something like that. Before, the idea is that, an RFP, you put in retail space, you do the apartments above, there's different things we can go at. There's examples we can get from other communities that have already done that. So there's basically what Jamie's saying is there's trade-offs. The road's a done deal now, so we're putting that in at our expense.
The paving's not done though. I mean, the water line we would go forward with, but maybe we could coordinate with them with the paving, cause that's not budgeted yet and wouldn't be completed this year.
And we don't even have we don't have the estimate either yet on what, you know, the rest of the work's gonna be for the water line. We just have what the parts are that we have, you know, purchased, but.
But we know about a mile of road for paving would be the 330,000, so it would also, I mean, we would have an idea of what that would, if there was an agreement to pave, what the developer would be bringing.
Right. So it could be something like that. It's like, you know, you put in a little park area with trails in it. So you're right, Jeff, in some respects. It's like an RFP would be more encompassing, you know? So you put in a few walking trails, or you put in, you know, picnic space or something like that. An RFP is more encompassing. But Wausau's done it where they had, you know, river space put in, a walkway along the river with the apartments that they put in. So. And then they're the ones that go after the grants with, you know, WIDA, you know, they go after the grants that say, well, then you get these rates, you do the LMI, and they worry about all the paperwork, but they've gotta get that stuff filed by a certain date because the deadlines are in June and December, you know? But, I mean, this is just a starting point. This is a place for us to talk about this stuff, but, you know, we've done it in the past, and it's just that, you know, the timelines and the deadlines are there and the rate, but this is something we need to talk about. But it's the housing thing that, you know, that keeps coming up, and as we see more of our properties, you know, diminishing in land availability, and so it's stuff we've got to think about. Because we do see younger population coming in. I'm sorry, Jackie.
No, no.
You
I
were
was
thinking.
in a suburb outside of Indianapolis the past 3 days, and that is a booming area. And this was a very tiny town that had nothing, farm community, that now looks like they planted houses in the fields. I mean, there's housing everywhere. And it just ties into what I was doing, moving my sister from a bigger home into a small 2-bedroom apartment that they can manage. So I'm picturing this because it sounds very much like what you're describing, whether there's enough acreage here for this. But her street had these units that were together. They all looked nice, similar to what you said is behind the post office in Nakusa, maybe a little more upscale than that. And then on the another side of this development were small individual houses. And so it was a combined community. And what I saw that I thought was really nice about it was you'd see some of the people that maybe were a little bit older out walking around, but then also the younger people with their dogs and their babies. And I thought that's really healthy to have those combined in one community. So that's kind of what I would picture. Because trying to satisfy, we have 2 needs. I mean, I think we've identified, we've got the people who want this sort of independent, smaller space, but nice. They're used to living in a nice place. They're not looking to move into a real plain bargain type of thing. They want a nice unit. And then these other kind of, what you call, I don't know what affordable is anymore, what that number is, but they're smaller houses and they're pretty close together, but they all look nice. They have small little yards, some are fenced. So that's kind of what I'm picturing there. But I guess where I get stuck is you need to find the developer who wants to come in and show you what that looks like in the space that we have, and how they're gonna do that, how they're gonna invest in it. So the process to get that developer is where I don't know enough on how you get that person. Where maybe Jamie knows how you attract them. You know, how do you let them know we have 19 acres and this is what we want. We want this many units for the 55 and plus and this many units for individual houses. Show us what that looks like.
And I think that's healthy because you find so many different communities are going that route, and you find the money out there that they're doing that with more, you know, like Main Street and other programs that are doing that, because older people don't necessarily want to be stuck with older people anymore. You know, they want to have a mix in their community because that's what keeps us vibrant and happy these days is, you know, life, being around, you know, and it doesn't have to look like Nakusa. I'm just using that as an example, and they've got so many examples. If you just do a search and read and do it, there's developers out there and they know how to do these things. If you do a search, they'll come into your communities and show you what they can do, and other communities have done this. And you go out and you look at Indianapolis, or you go out and look at Dayton, or you go to Milwaukee, Mequon, Ozaki, any of these have done this. And they can give you names of developers that have done these sorts of programs. And the houses that they do are smaller and they're cute. They don't have to look stodgy and, they can be cute. And then even just like Greendale's an example, one of the original neighborhoods, I can't remember what they were called, when Eleanor Roosevelt did it, the houses face each other and you walk the streets in front of, and the yards are,
It's a little
in
village,
front.
yeah.
Yeah, these neighborhoods are coming into existence and in small plots of land, and they're bringing people together again. And so it's not unheard of to put RFPs, a request for a developer to come in and help you develop that type of community. And that's where a planner comes in and a community developer comes in and helps us figure that out. We don't do that. Jamie doesn't do that. We find the people that do that for us.
So that's where I was. What is it we need to accomplish this? Do we need a developer, a planner, a contractor of some sort that does that identifies this, or do we need just a builder that gives ideas? So that's where I'm kind of like, all right, let's do it, but how do we do it?
I think a good first step is reaching out to other municipalities and getting some examples.
Right.
We did have a series of them that we had looked at a couple years ago. Those are probably kind of dated now because we've gone through, COVID. But I think that would be a good place to start, just to see if there's something that speaks to us as a starting point. And then we would put together what our package would look like. Is it,
Right.
do we want to include all of the acreage that's involved with housing? Do we just want to separate it as multifamily and senior living? Then I think once we know how we want it outlined, we just put together what we want our package to look like.
And when you see these types of developments, like maybe your sister, or she'd find out in the community, the developer that developed them, and just sometimes just asking, this is a really nice development, what developer developed this, and it's like seeing something and knowing it's nice, and sometimes they know.
And if you put an RFP out, developers will know, right? They share that information. They'll pass it along. There's also lots of companies that when municipalities put out RFPs, they share it. They call, they get the information, they put it on their websites and advertise it. So if we had a package put together, I have no doubt that it would get well shared.
This isn't inventing something. They're
No.
doing this all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Just need to,
I just found one again
Here.
the other night, and the houses were just so darn cute, and it was like, wow, it's like, and it was drawing, 55 plus, and that's why I hate saying seniors, but 55 plus and younger families, like you said, you'd see, older people and then, younger families walking there, because they even like, it draws people together, it's like they like having the grandparently type people around, and they like having kids around, and it makes for a more lively, vibrant community. And then we have the Rome Town Center where people can walk and get music and get a piece of bakery or a sandwich. So I think that's the point we're at. And these studies show that that's what we need, and we know we need a place for the workers to be. So maybe it's a combination of everything, and we just need to start looking for examples. So maybe that's what we can do, is bring some examples back to a meeting.
I think that's a good action step if everyone would, especially if you have seen something that you like, reach out to a contact and see.
Absolutely, ask. If you're in a community, just ask, who developed this area. It's not a builder, it's developers. I mean, it's builders that build the homes, but it's developers that plan out communities like this,
Jeff
a
brought
good
up
developer.
very good point. You had a very good point, Jack, and Jeff brought up a very valid point. It's like when they come in, they gotta be willing to give something too. We want something, but they gotta give something too. Because usually you're giving them a piece of land, or you're giving them something, and then we want something too. So that's part of the RFP process.
But I guess that would be a next good step for next meeting, if you can find examples, see examples, or reach out to people, if everyone could bring examples. I'll reach out to our neighboring municipalities and through our listserv for administrators and see I can get some additional ones also. I'll revisit the ones that we had looked at some time ago and see if anything in there is still relevant.
Might be something for Connect.
Yep,
That's a good suggestion.
Yep.
So we'll put that down for next agenda then?
Yep.
Great, thank you. All right, then, number 10 is discussion and possible action on the public art mural project artist submission forms.
Okay, well, we have, 5, I think, submitted, and so, we've got 2 next steps. One is to decide the process to select an artist. And then the other is to fundraise. So we have $5,000 right now, and these are coming in closer to, I guess on average, $25,000. So we need to find some more money unless someone out there wants to donate to build a beautiful mural. And that, I say that, but that is a possibility. We can see if we can find some donations. Or grants like we were looking at. So I guess first though, the selection of the artist. We need to make it timely, so we can't extend that process out all summer long. But I don't feel comfortable with just the people sitting here choosing one of these. So we are looking for thoughts on how we're gonna do that submission. Whether we put these out in a better form online with a voting process and allow people to look at them and vote. If we have them in the in the town hall here on a board or available to look at, and you can vote that way. Or what other ideas do you all have? I think Jamie had an idea, I'm not remembering what it was.
we could potentially take them to the farmer's market.
Farmer's
Put them
market.
in the library.
We could put them in the gazebo area in the farmer's market, and let people vote, and the library, we thought of that too. So it's a matter of how long we want to have them out there to vote, and just what that process looks like. So if
I
you have
do think it's
suggestions.
appropriate for us to potentially narrow, just because not all of the artists provided all of the items that we
Sure.
were looking for. So I don't think it's inappropriate for CDA to narrow. And the $5,000 is that we received a grant through Visit Rome, and I think we should include Visit Rome since they are helping to fund the project on their input on who also.
Sure. Well, one of them didn't actually submit anything that, it's just a picture of something she made that, to me, I described it as when a town has a thing on the street, they have like a decorated goose or painted
Yep.
duck or, you know, whatever. It looked more like that, so I thought that one could maybe be eliminated because Jamie had sent another request asking for better submission and didn't get it, so,
We could eliminate that one, I think.
yeah,
You're
I
right
think
about
that's
that. Maybe
easy
we just
to
keep-
eliminate. I don't think are they public record, Jamie? I don't know that I'll say that.
I didn't release their names.
So I'm not going to say the name of who that is, so that one could be eliminated. And then,
Just keep her as a contact for future if we ever
sure,
get into.
there might be other projects, maybe we'll
Looks like
decide,
she's getting started.
yeah,
Yeah,
or
And
maybe,
local too, I was excited that those were local.
yeah.
But I agree. I agree
There was
with
another
everything.
one that gave samples of what they've done, but not any renderings of what they thought would be for us.
I thought they all had it. Well, so to me, if we look at,
The partner artists, that they do it as a partnership, did not provide a rendering for the building. They did provide several samples, but they did not.
Yes.
Describe can we describe the picture at least, so we kind of.
there's one that looks like it has the orange and.
Okay, yeah,
Okay, so like that, I thought that one looked
like it.
nice. I might ask them, I think that when in Rome is kind of overused. It could be changed to welcome to Rome, or we are Rome, or just Rome,
I like We Are Rome, yeah.
or something else. But I think that aside, I like, it seems to capture different things that we do here. You know, it's
Yeah.
got a little bit of everything on
I
it.
thought it was really unique how he made it, how he used the words, it's just that unfortunately they're overused, like you say.
And it's colorful, anyway, so that one,
And the other
I
one
liked-
was the one that had the four-wheeling, the deer, that was kind of nice,
oh, yeah,
and the birding, golfing.
the large symbols.
Yeah.
It didn't show up that great on when they
It-
tried
it was a-
to
it was a-
transpose it onto this, but I
But this one,
thought,
not the large bird, this one here.
Is that the
Is that
guy
the s-
for Kansas City?
This is the
Yeah. I think
Kansas
that's the-
City, Missouri one,
Yep.
yes,
okay, oh,
I like that too.
yeah.
I agree.
I actually like the first picture with the big bird and the
oh,
blueberries.
here, this kinda.
Yes, isn't that?
And I actually think that's a juniper, is what that is.
I
That's
know,
what
that's a really lovely picture.
I know.
That one attracted me right away when I went through his photos.
I
his
do
paintings.
think the purpose of it, I would somehow want them to incorporate Rome on this. 'Cause
Yes,
the idea
absolutely.
is you're driving by and you wanna see, not just that this is a pretty picture.
It just looks like he just did some research on our area though, a little bit,
Yeah,
from
that
being that
one,
far
I
away.
think has, looks nice. And then maybe if we narrowed it to 3, would that,
So
Yeah.
I got a couple questions.
Oh, and-
Weren't we talking about making these like module, portable, relocatable?
We said to the artist, we preferred it to be on the building, but we would entertain ones that were not on the building. The thought was that if something would happen to the building, likely we could cut the sheet metal, or it is in sheets, right? That we could be taken down and maybe
Okay.
put someplace else.
Well, and for some reason in my mind, I had it pictured as something that is just mounted on the building.
panels?
So that's my mistake. And the other thing about, the only drawback on, I mean, I like the idea of the voting, but, you know, these are draft renders, you know, and so if we have the public vote on it, and, you know, it's probably not gonna end up looking like this in the beginning. You know, because the
Right.
public would see this as an opportunity to get involved and pick the mural.
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna say,
Yeah,
this is
I
the mural
agree.
we want.
Yeah.
So if we do ask the public for input, I think we need some sort of pretty close to final, you know,
I agree.
drafts.
And we could
Which
probably
is gonna
ask
put a
them for
hang,
that.
and that just hangs up everything, you know, it does. Cause we're not gonna get close to final drafts until we're far along in this process.
They'd probably want some money to do that,
Yeah, yeah.
I would think.
I would think so too. I mean, I think you, to communicate back to them and maybe say you're a finalist and then this is what we would be looking for, I would think it would be fair to compensate them for that artwork.
See, and I see what Jeff is saying, and it's very valid, and the whole point of doing this initial project was to get community buy-in, and having their input is very important, but this first project was to get the community excited, so how do we do that and just maybe, and this is turning out to be quite a bit more than I thought we were just going for a simple, I'm trying to say too many things at one time. This is a lot of money for a first project to get the community excited.
It really is.
And I really appreciate getting donations and asking for money to help us do this and getting grants. But again, I go back, what Jeff is saying, getting it on pieces that could be removed from a building that was really technically supposed to be torn down, eventually will be torn down, because it's not in that good a shape. It can last, it will last for a while longer if it's taken care of, but, and I can see it being on panels, but I'm just like, this is a big number. This is a really big number, and these are really wonderful artists. So let's put it in perspective, and it's like, getting grant money and asking for donations is really wonderful for our first project, but is this a little bit much for our first project to get the community engaged? I'm just taking a step back here for our first project. I'm just putting it,
So I'm not following, are you meaning don't do it?
no,
Or
I'm not saying
involve
don't
the
do it, not at all,
community?
not at all. I'm just saying, is it a little bit more than what, not at all. I'm just saying I was really excited and I really wanna do this, and this is great that we've come this far. And I'm just wondering that this is a lot of money for a project, and I really want people to get excited, and I wanna move forward with beautification, cause it's something I've talked about for years. And I think it's great,
It might be bad timing here, but would anybody be interested in, if I would approach one of the, or multiple of the local schools, art departments? I know in Nakusa, they did their own murals. And
I,
She's not there anymore.
I think we've already submitted to all the local
did
school
you,
art
to the school,
departments.
the art department, Mid-State, and
We
to
did.
Lincoln, okay.
The-
All right.
Yep, Nakusa, Lincoln, Port Edwards, Pacelli, did all receive
Okay,
it, yep.
all right.
I don't
I
wanna,
wish I could remember that teacher's name because she was fantastic.
Are we doing?
She retired recently, so yeah, my
and-
daughter had her, yeah,
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 yeah.
she was
One,
really
right?
good.
I didn't wanna back up the train that far. I don't mean to throw a rock at this, but I just wanna put it in, I'm just trying to put it in perspective. I wasn't anticipating I wasn't anticipating this kind of money for that bill. It's a nice project, it's a great project, and it's a good starting point. It's just, like Jeff's saying though, if we get the community, they're gonna want a project, if we're gonna get them to vote on something, it's just like the band shell. They wanted to see the band shell, they voted on something, a rendering that they knew it was gonna look like.
Yep.
So,
And it wasn't even one that they had preferred, so it's,
can I just pose a question as a starting point? Community involvement, voting for the finalist, like yes or no? Like that's, let's start with that. Because if we do want the community to vote on these, then I think we need to take different steps going forward than if we just make a decision and move it forward to the board to finalize, you know? So I think we need to decide if, for this project, are we going to have, you know, poster boards at the farmer's market and stuff like that?
Initially, this was supposed to be just our project, and not the community involvement, so are we gonna, but it is a big project, so it's something that, would you rather change it to, like Jeff said, voting on it?
You're still going to need to just show a couple examples of what we're thinking. Even if you're going with a yes or no vote, you're still going to have, I don't know if people can conceptualize what you're referring to. So you're still going to have some pictures to get excited about. I mean, I say, oh my God, they'd be so cool on that building, that mural.
But they will.
But I have to visualize it.
It's gonna
If it's
require-
yes or no, just to put a mural on a building in Rome, well,
It's gonna require, well, they would get excited after they saw it, type
Yeah.
of thing, but not beforehand. It'll require more money to get more renderings, is to get it down to a proof stage. Is what the problem is that you're gonna have to pay them to get those final pictures to have them voted on, if you want them to vote.
well, no, I just mean, you could actually just
Yeah, I think
show a
there's a-
couple of these as examples of what we're thinking of by doing a mural. Not the specific ones we're choosing from at the end, but just for people to see, this is sort of what we're thinking about, yes or no. I mean, you're still gonna have to do some examples, and I don't care where they would come from, you know, but
I think we're overcomplicating this
I do
Thank you.
too.
Thank you,
greatly.
thank you.
I think we have these two,
Yes.
these renderings are decent, are
Yes.
nice. I don't think people would be shocked if they said they voted for this and it looked slightly different, or this. And if we wanted them to change the words or add Rome, I'm sure they
And we
would
can
do
make a
that
note, not
without
final,
a
not final.
charge. But,
I would be more, I would rather us just make a decision. And it's not, and we're not actually finalizing, you know, we're not making the final decision, right? But this has to have board approval, right?
It's gotta go to plan, and we would still report it to board, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna, and like I said, I'd like to just have input from Visit Rome, because they're right now providing,
Yeah, 100%.
I just, or maybe not use the word vote, if just say, just an opinion, anybody like, which one do you like more? Just to help out with something, but
yeah,
voting isn't probably the.
yeah,
way
I
to go.
agree. Who's gonna count the votes? And then people will say, well, can they be validated? And then can we get regular machines in here to put our votes in? And then,
when we did the facade for this
No,
building.
uh-uh.
We just did check marks,
Yeah,
right? We
yeah.
had, and if we did it at the farmer's market, we would just
Yeah.
put your check
Put your
on the
check mark
side
on
there.
Yes, I'm sorry, I should have just said, I agree with you, we should just pick.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should have said it. We should just pick.
We should.
And then the funding is probably a bigger thing because we've asked them to do this year. And so,
Yep.
I don't know, this funding that you might get done by the end of the month, how soon you get an answer on that, if that's a possibility, or, private fundraising. And so,
Are both of these around 25,000? They're both in that
Yes.
area? Yes, okay.
and this is the price that they've given us too. This one is 29,300. These are artists. You can also go back and say, well,
They have the
would-
dimensions of the building, though. These are according
Oh,
to the
yeah.
dimensions of the building we wanna put it
yeah,
on.
they had all the specifics. Or we can go back and say, we'd like you to do it, but at a different price, you know. See what they would do. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to myself think it's down to these two, but I
Well, I think there should be a
it's-
third one in there. I mean, my cutoff, and I don't see any reason we're not saying their names. Is there a reason we're not saying their names?
We just hadn't released them yet because this was the starting conversation on what we were thinking, right? So that was the only reason why. I mean, if you wanna use their first names or their last names, I think that's fine.
All right, well, I think that the top three for me was Alex, Kibba, and her last name is Sahar. She's from Milwaukee.
Teresa.
Those are the three that I
Yeah,
have.
those are the three she has.
So, I mean,
I think this other,
Teresa?
Which one? Oh,
Teresa Sahar,
oh.
and then,
Alex Eichhoff,
yep. And then,
Kibba Freeman.
Kibba Freeman, yes, from Point.
and I think for anyone, the other
I don't know.
Those are my notes.
The other that we didn't include, well, one, it wasn't really a complete submission. This I just feel is not right for our community. It's more indie bohemian
Yep.
style,
Yep.
look more Denver or something, or
Yeah.
a different community.
Yeah, it's just.
So
don't-
that I
don't
think is
yeah,
easy.
I agree with you on that one. I mean.
It's
the-
beautiful,
the-
but
the
not our
Husband and
community.
wife team is obviously an accomplished.
They're
muralist.
amazing.
They're amazing art, but it just didn't capture what.
It's not us.
Right, what we were looking for.
Do we want to attempt the grant?
Yeah, the other thing, I think this T-Mobile grant is for this project.
Is for this
Okay.
project?
And.
Can I have my blue paper clip back, please? Thank you. I have all these loose papers over here, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we,
You think they're gonna work for this? I think it'd be good.
I think it'd be fantastic. And not only that, but we also do, we write a grant to the Community Foundation for the,
Awesome, okay.
Progress Initiative. I mean, we can reuse most of the language, you know, in the T-Mobile grant versus the Progress Initiative grant.
Even if they only give us like the 4%, you
Mhm.
know? Okay,
Yeah,
great.
Absolutely. I mean, we could use that money to, you know, like maybe, could we store it away and like use it to update it or not update it, touch it up, you know, in the future?
It's
kinda
Well,
nice
and
something like that?
lighting,
light
Sharon had a
to
great idea
stand
about
out.
lighting,
I
so we
know,
could
you
put
would
it on
just-
the-
Yeah,
the
I'm with
LED
you.
You drive by the highway
Yeah,
and
you
I would,
miss it,
Um,
you miss
it's
it.
only
It has to
$1,000,
stand out.
and
I'm
even
with
though
you.
it's only 1,000,
you want
I'd like
this
to
to
use
be,
it for.
I do like,
Yeah, but
And
the
there it
colors
looks
aren't
brighter.
vivid, so it's.
And there was nothing
Here it does look
specific
more
that I knew to
vivid.
write it for, and that's what,
it's the same thing,
the
but
fellow
you
at
see it,
W,
it
I
does
just
look
saw
more
him, in
vivid
fact,
there.
when we went to the WTA, a workshop training, and we have to be really specific on what we wanna use it for, where these sound, you could be more general about the whole project, and I have something really specific I wanna write it for.
Yeah, and that's, well, and the other thing is that, so
They might
we have 30
use
days to
some
get this
with
grant
lighter color
submitted,
and go
but we're gonna need to know
if you
the budget.
ask them to.
Right, and
So
there's,
we're gonna
Here
have
it
to
looks much brighter,
Yeah.
could be
narrow
the
this
printing
down. We have
ink
it to
too.
3 now, we need to narrow it down to 1.
right,
You know, so that when we write the grant, we know how much money we're asking for.
right,
Because, I mean, these three, if I remember Teresa was the
Least.
least
Least
expensive, yeah,
expensive.
like 15 grand, and then it goes up from there.
And hers is kinda, anyway, you can tell it's not as accomplished.
And I realized being on the panels, I didn't mean to go down and grab, it's just that we eventually got to what you were saying, Jeff, and it's just that, you're right, it's just easier for us on this first one to just pick and get it done and get the community excited. Too much involvement would just drag it out too long and we gotta focus and
And
get
if
it done.
if we need to write if we need to get a grant to pay for this, which obviously we do,
We
we
gotta-
gotta get going.
Yes, yes.
We gotta get,
We can always involve them in the next one.
yeah. So how are we gonna narrow this down?
I was gonna say, how are we gonna do this, decided,
I like these two, to be honest.
Which two?
I like Alex and I like Steven.
Kiva Freeman?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those
Kiva-
are my
Kiva
two.
Freeman.
Yeah, those are my two too. I'm not a fan of the Sahar, unfortunately. I just don't, I think it's too minimal, I
it
guess.
doesn't flow very
Alright,
well, it's
so-
just pictures.
We have a consensus here, and I'm raising the bar up past Sahar. Now we're down to two.
And I'm
Jamie,
really
what do you think? Do you see anything that you like?
I like that Kiba is more local,
Mm-hmm.
and he's done a series of artwork locally.
Yes.
I think that he would be willing to work with us on adapting the language of it a little bit, and could likely meet down here. I think we could do some additional neat things with meeting the artist and working with the artist. I'm not saying we couldn't do that with Alex, but I think it would be easier because he's 45 minutes away.
I do,
Accessibility to him.
it might be the print quality, but I think this is beautiful as like a painting. But I think this is really bright and eye-catching when you're
Yeah.
driving by. You might see it, and what I hope, this is a man or a woman, Stephen, okay? Tried to use some browns that blend in with those other buildings, and, I think it has a lot going for it. It seems to have, did you notice in the corner is like a little gazebo?
I didn't catch that
He
originally.
was
I
very
did.
detailed
I caught
when he,
it.
when he learned about Town of Rome. He was very detailed. He kept looking at other pictures. He was looking at our logos. He was looking at our signs, and he incorporated it all into one, which I think is fabulous. That he went that far into researching our community before submitting.
Is he from Stevens Point?
Yeah.
Well, then
I'm really
he's
stuck
local.
on this juniper and this beautiful bird, but I really am. But I understand what you're saying about,
Are we coming to a consensus here?
and
Yes.
I'm really stuck on this one too. This is a beautiful picture. They thought of everything about our town too.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it is, and it's way more detailed, it's like a work of art, but I think my thought was, we're
Standing out,
trying to
the
get something
colours,
that
yeah.
we're driving down the highway.
Right.
I'll be honest with you, I will be happy with either one
I
of
would
these
too,
selections.
I would too,
And,
so,
and I think the local the
I think
local
that's
angle
probably the
is
seller.
I think it's the tiebreaker.
yeah.
If we
I
go
do
with,
too.
visit Rome and see, make sure that they are okay with it too.
Oh, sure.
Maybe we could cut
So I
back on
think we
the
should-
orange just a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I think it needs to tame down a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, you
Oh,
never
yeah,
Some
know,
browns,
just the
put some browns in
printing.
there.
But I really was drawn to the little people in the gazebo too. It was like, oh my gosh, they got little people in the gazebo.
Isn't that cute?
I would note that he did a good job incorporating, that is a public works building, incorporating the doors.
The
So if
doors,
the doors
yeah.
were open or closed, the mural still makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't break the words
Yes.
I
or
did notice
cut
that.
off someone's
Yeah,
head.
He was the only one that I think did a good job of incorporating the usage of the building.
Okay, so I think,
I think we have an
I
agreement.
think we do.
Dang, people.
I do have one other thought, and I didn't realize that muralists charge by the square foot. Maybe it's something that other people who have hired muralists realize. But when I saw the cost and I saw how it's calculated, one of my thoughts was, if you eliminate an entire side of that building, I mean, it's gonna cut down the cost a lot.
we're only doing two sides.
Right, But if we only did one, I mean,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
35 grand for two sides versus maybe 25 grand or 22 grand for one side.
I
maybe?
think the problem is the side that you'd be eliminating, I'm assuming it's the short side, and that's really visible, like
Coming
from
out of the
Quick
Quick Trip parking
Trip, and
lot.
when you turn, and if you came in to look at this,
I think
now
you-
you
I
go
think we
by
should.
the,
It was just a thought. and
No,
just
I
wanted to
understand.
throw
I
it
hear
out.
ya.
It's a good thought,
we're always looking
though,
ways
but
to save money, there's no
I mean,
harm
I
in that.
still shocked when I opened these up. I assumed y'all did too.
I did too.
Yeah.
I had no idea what to expect, so, I think the other artist was 53,000, or some of her pieces, the ones that we thought were more detailed,
I mean,
so.
I knew they'd be expensive, I just didn't think,
I thought they'd be at least 20 myself.
yeah, that's kind of what I was
But
thinking.
I think always too, being a local person and perhaps are looking for some, advertising, you know, or just, I don't know.
You
But we
can't do
did
that.
leave the door
No,
open
not
though, too.
advertising,
That
but
was-
this would promote that local artist
Put his
throughout the
name out there,
community.
yeah.
But
So,
you can't pay for art with exposure.
so.
It's just
Right?
that's just a terrible, terrible thing.
Just an example to give to the
I'll
next
gladly
person.
pay you tomorrow for a hamburger.
I do give him a lot of, I mean, he's got the Carter Blue Butterfly, even though it's not the right blue. You know, he's got the Kirkland Warbler. He's got a hawk, but it's, you know, he's got an eagle, okay, but the gazebo with the little people in it was just like over the top. But the orange, he's gotta tame the orange.
Okay, so I will.
You're gonna go after the grants.
Yeah, I'll get started on the grant.
Thank you.
Using this person's Kibba's submission. Is there like a BAFO stage here? Is there like a? I mean, do we go back to him and maybe
A what stage?
best and final offer, like a negotiate or talk? You know what I'm saying?
We haven't done this before, so potentially.
I mean, either.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean,
You know the lingo.
I think that would be, I think contacting all of the artists saying thank you and then, you know, letting him know that he was selected and say, could you come, maybe it's best we meet in person and we just look at the building and let's just make sure that we're on the same page for budget. I notice he mentions in there it needs a graffiti coating. I don't think that's part of his. I would just wanna confirm a couple of the costs with him.
Well, and $2,000 for travel and lodging. That seems a little
Yeah.
for a 45-minute drive.
Yeah.
And if he
I mean,
knows,
I'll give him mileage, but
Well, you gotta give him the IRS rate for mileage.
60 whatever something.
Yeah, it's gone up quite a bit.
So maybe that's a conversation to say, you know, your art selection, can we,
There's really no place to stay here, so.
Yeah, he's gotta stay up in the rabbit.
We just talked about that.
is he staying with you?
At the end.
Right.
I know, all right.
If he can put my boat in the water, that'd be nice.
Maybe thinking about other terminology instead of the when in Rome.
Yes.
Yeah, just.
Although it
a
was
little
clever, yeah.
No, I like it, but seems like it's being used in
Yes.
a lot
Yeah,
of
we
Facebook
don't-
pages.
Overkill.
Will you communicate with Visit Rome and?
Sure.
Okay. Make sure that
I'll
they
tell
are
them which
comfortable.
one they like.
do they sign their murals? Do they sign their murals?
Usually
We-
they do
well-
somewhere, yes.
We should charge them for signing it because that's how they're going to get more business. We don't want, you can teach.
Do we wanna think though, seriously though, do we wanna, cause some of those panels are pretty bad along the bottom and on the side they're dented pretty bad and they're rusted pretty bad. Do we want to find out? I don't wanna throw a wrench in
I know where you're going with this, and my comment would be, I think that's gonna be the muralist's job to tell us if, you know,
What has
like
to be
if the
fixed.
substrate is not, you know, he can't work with it or something like that, you know?
Cause I'm
He
sure
needs
he's
to come
already been,
physically
yeah,
look at
like
it,
if,
yeah.
cause he
Yeah,
already
he
said
should
he
come and
needs
look at
the-
it.
Yeah.
Should come and look at it first and then you can ask those questions, you know?
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah.
Did
And we
he
could
give,
on the
I
front
didn't,
put
look
panels.
if he gave references? Because we could talk to the people in Wapaka who have all of those murals and.
Oh, he has a whole
see
list
Yes, he
of the
does.
projects he did.
if they're
There's a
familiar
million of
with
them.
him. Okay,
Oh,
Good.
all these,
Here we
these are
go.
all the projects he did.
okay.
And
And
yeah,
here,
he did Warzala Publishing up and the warehouse up in the Point.
Which is very good.
Yeah.
he did the trash canvas competition.
Well, the
up
hostel
in-
shop one is nice, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, yeah. We might just check with some
Oh,
of
the
these
hostel shop.
municipalities, make sure they didn't have any difficulties in dealing with him.
Very nice.
Or challenges, I shouldn't say difficulties. There were no challenges or overcharges or things like that, so,
Okay,
all right.
all right. Well, that
And
was
so when I say we, who's the we?
Well, I heard Jeff's gonna look at the grant, you'll contact Visit Rome. Does someone want to check references?
good. I can.
Okay, great.
Right.
And I will contact all the artists and let them know what we have discussed.
And then the only other thing was asking him if this is his BAFA,
Yeah.
Bafo?
BAFO,
You
BAFO.
impressed us all, Jeff.
Another acronym we've all learned
Yeah,
today.
right.
Yay.
Just
Yeah.
when we need more acronyms.
Yeah, I know.
I think what I would do is ask if, given he's our finalist, if he could come down, look at the canvas.
Yes.
Determine if this is a feasible canvas, what else would he need? Now you've made the drive, we appreciate it, would it really be the 2,000, we could ask all those
Yeah,
questions.
these are good things to ask.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he's already been down here and looked at this. I don't know that if I were him, I would have. Okay, perfecto. Well, it's exciting. Like we said, we're moving this.
Moving on forward.
I'll tell you what,
Chug along.
getting things accomplished is a good feeling.
I know.
All right. Now, number 11 is discussion and possible action on a town newsletter communication method.
That good
Well,
feeling is fun.
we had, yeah, I think,
Downer.
I think that was a no-go.
after the Visit Rome meeting, we had talked about this at Visit Rome also, and then Lisa and Jamie and I were there and had come up with a thought of asking, and we talked about this at the last CDA meeting, having the various associations agree to kind of suggest to their members that they use just the town website and the Visit Rome website as their main sources. And then we had a sort of document that had been developed asking them if they might even like agree to this in writing. And where we left that at that time was asking Joel at Lake Arrowhead, because that's the largest association, what he thought of that idea, if he would even consider it. And I have not heard back on whether he was asked and what he said. Did you? I didn't.
I did
No,
not.
I think Lisa was doing that. So that's kind of where we were at with this. And then the other topic that has sort of come up is to not have a frequent newsletter, but maybe something that just goes out more of like a statement of developments, accomplishments annually. Like, here's what we've done this past year, like a recap of the year sort of newsletter. I sort of like that idea, more focusing on all the positive things that have happened and we've done and what's going on in your community. Not that it's a newsletter like there's a run coming up or a concert or that sort of thing.
An informational piece, like at the end of the year.
Just a recap of the year, a year in the life of Rome or something like that. Does that sound like it's something people would enjoy having? Or I always like that. It's sort of like the people who used to send out their Christmas letters.
I think it would be hard to put everything together, though.
Yeah.
I mean, just this week,
Yeah,
the Lure Bar and Grill announced that they have new owners, and the Dirty Ore, the Ore on Lake Petenwell, has sold and will have new owners.
Really? Are they gonna open back up?
no,
It'd be
not
different.
this year.
It'll be different, yeah, and it's gonna be a while. So there's, just in 1 week alone, you get two major changes, and then there's several others. I don't know who would keep up with that. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the problem with this is because you're talking about a full-time job. I mean, that's a.
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
a-
we could do town stuff. I mean, the road construction,
that's a
this
communication
place
person.
opened, that's about, I don't know what else we could do.
So
The
I
other thing
think
is when you make a list, you always
You forget
run the risk
something.
We forget something, and then someone would be upset.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only, I do think we need something, but I think we need something like what you were talking about, with Lake Arrowhead. Like, we need a standard, like, PDF or something, right, that just says, these are the official channels, throw it out there every week, put it in
Right.
the mail, just, so if you're not getting your information from these, like, have the Facebook page, have the town website, you know, just the places that are the official channels, and just reiterate, these are the official channels as many times as we can.
And I think that's where we were sort of at, and then we added that other method of sharing with the associations, and so maybe we can drop that and just go back to that. We had a draft of piece that I think Lydell put together, or maybe Lisa might even have put it together,
Lydell put it together.
that just showed like different boxes, Town of Rome,
Oh,
visit,
Val and Lisa did.
that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
I think the town needs to talk
So-
about that too, because we had started a conversation last year even, and at the beginning of the new year about social media, and we haven't even finished that discussion yet, because there's an issue with that, within and outside of the town. So, I mean, I know Jamie makes quite a few posts on, Facebook, but the analytics aren't there, you know, I mean, I see that, and you might get, 5 likes, 6 likes, maybe 3 comments, but is it worth the time and the effort? Because, I mean, we have a Facebook page, a website that really needs to be, kept current, because there's information out there. How do I do this? Or is the information regarding, the business is up to date? And we talked, Jackie had some very good insight and input on our CDA, when we were working on the information for the business flyer. Is that economic development information up to date? We gotta keep that current for businesses that are interested in the area. So, I mean, we've gotta keep that, we gotta keep, the town needs to be aware of what they're doing as well. So, I mean, we can't lose sight of that. So, the town, we gotta bring that back too, so the board is on top of that, because the Facebook page may be helpful, but if the analytics aren't there to support it, is our social media presence as important as the website, which, the town that's where most of our information has gotta be and kept up to date.
Right, it just, no one accesses it.
Right.
The problem is to get them there. Yep.
I know we talked about outside of the associations too, with the series of social media platforms that they are run by administrators. The administrators are mostly known on who they are, and if we did have something that would be essentially, we just wanna share with you, these are reliable sources, or if you had questions, having some sort of, whether it's one time or quarterly meeting with these individuals to say that we'd like you to sign on to this, and if you need to meet after this or talk about things, these would be where reliable sources would come from. With the lack of information, you might fill in gaps, right? So that would be another potential option that we would help to coordinate through Visit Rome on scheduling sometime.
There's definitely a need for rummage sales, lost dogs, look what I saw, pretty picture of a bird. I mean,
The
there's,
snake poisonous.
yeah, there we go. I found that
Look
in
out for that one.
And I think the town's Facebook page should actually be closed for comments. There shouldn't, it should be more of an information.
It is closed
piece.
for
Yeah, there are
comments.
no comments on that. So, yeah, I think we're on the right track. We don't really have anything finalized to present yet, so we'll keep it on the agenda. And if we think that's the way to go, we'll continue in that path and give up on this newsletter idea for now and focus on this information piece.
Perfect.
So, okay.
All right, that sounds good. Anybody have any other info or input on that? Okay, perfect. Then we're gonna move on to number 12. Our next agenda items, including a tour. Any ideas for a tour?
Same place, same time.
Same place,
Same
same
back.
background,
Hopefully
all
not a
right?
hailstorm.
And we will go back over there to the
They were
oldest
ready for
virus.
us with water and cookies.
Yay.
They felt bad.
And then
And
the
I
agenda,
went
think
in their lobby.
there'll be more people there if you wait a month to go back, so it'll be good.
and then the next agenda items, we got any questions on those and what we're gonna follow up with then for next time? Anybody wanna add anything?
9 will be slightly revised, not so much about the university, but about our action item from this meeting.
Yep.
We'll keep the mural on there, and we'll keep we'll update, we will take out newsletter, but town communication.
Perfect. Do you want to add the WTA back in under reports?
Yep, I'm gonna write that here so we don't forget.
Alrighty. Then our next meeting is July 6th, 2023, 3:00 PM here in the Rome Municipal Building. And meeting is adjourned.
4:19 p.m.
4:19, thank you.
That's the next
4:19
meeting.
p.m.